It's been a while since I've put a video out. I've filmed several things, just haven't gotten around to putting them out there on YouTube. Today, I'm starting on a new adventure, and so a friend of mine said, well, you need to shoot YouTube for this, and so here we are. Back earlier this summer, we were camping in Panama City Beach. And again, as I'm going, what am I going to do when I get full-time retired? Because the thought of just sitting around the house, it frightens me to even think of that. About that time, a Can Am Spyder rode by. Well, it caught my attention. That was, in years past, I've ridden motorcycles, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, been cross-country, and the thought of this was just extremely appealing to me. And there's just something about the look of the Spyder that really caught me. I looked at the Hondas, the Gold Wings, and the Harley trikes. I've decided it is going to have three wheels no matter what. And just over and over, I kept coming back to the Spyder. Now, you can go online and you can find all kinds of information, and you can find just all kinds of terrible things. You can find good things, but in the end, I just felt like this was the direction I wanted to go. The thing of going out and buying a Spyder is not as simple as it first seems, because where I live, you have to have a motorcycle endorsement on your driver's license. To get a motorcycle endorsement, you have to be able to drive one. You also have the written test. Well, I don't have one. And so at that, I had to come up with a how do I get it done now? So online, went to the Can Am site, and they offer a driving school. And I went and took it, really enjoyed it. Had to go buy a helmet to be able to even go to the class. If you're looking at doing this, absolutely positively, do the Can Am class. It's only $99. It's about a full day. It's extremely informative, an opportunity to ride the bikes and to get a feel. Now, you don't get a huge feel. I mean, it's a small course they put you on. It's in a parking lot. We never got out of first gear. But at the same time, you had a feel for the thing. Truly, I wish that they would go to something that would allow you to put it on the road, because that's where and I have bought one now, after having bought one, that being on the highway is an incredibly different experience to being up on two wheels on the highway. So, let me just give you a quick view of my new toy. And there's my new toy. This is a 2015. It's the RT Limited. If, like me, you know nothing more than you've seen one go down the road before, there is a huge amount of education to be gathered. First of all, the different models and what's on a different model, so that you understand when you're shopping for them what you're looking at and what you're looking for. I'll start with, how I got to this one to kind of give you that input. I went shopping on, there was Cycle Trader, and I went shopping on Facebook Marketplace. The thing, and I've bought different things off the internet before. I've bought boats, I've bought trucks, and I bought a Jeep. The thing that you always have to keep in mind when you're buying something off of the internet is, well, there's a lot, but the first thing that you need to pay attention to is, where is it? If it's too far away, it's almost impossible to shop the thing without a tremendous amount of risk. I have bought things at a distance before, and sometimes on the way to go get them, just kind of hold my breath as to what on earth did I really buy, because until you really get up close and get a chance to look at something, you just don't know what you've got. In this particular case, on this 2015, the bike was being advertised as having 569 miles on it. And it had been on Facebook for a month or so. The price on the thing was competitive with other bikes that were in the same general type, but the mileage at that really it was kind of frightening. So and the first thing that I did was, when I did my little Facebook contact, was said, "What's the story?" And I got an immediate response, and that it was a parent who had bought the bike and then had illness. Of course, this thing with 569 miles on it, that's pretty rapid. So I'm not sure the whole story on the thing, but that's after having met and looked at documentation to where it had been put in the shop. It had been gone through, all the fluids changed out in it, the gas fuel pump was changed out, and I was very comfortable with the story. And then the fact that I had the documentation where they had spent about $2,500 in just getting this thing ready to go from having sat still for so long. But I mean, I guess you can see, I mean, these are the tires that came on it. And I'm sure several people will instantly go, okay, so those tires are a minimum of 8 years old, and that absolutely was a thought in my mind. And if you try to look up that information, you will get every viewpoint in the world. And so for the time being, good, bad, or undecided, it's still got the original tires on it. I don't know that the video can honestly give a showing of what shape this bike's in. It is showroom new. It's incredible, honestly. On the internet, I've seen videos, I've seen Facebook where they bikes with some age on them with low miles. It's pretty common to find 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 miles on a bike this age, and truly that's low miles. But to be less than 1,000 miles on one, it's just an incredible thing. I was very fortunate that this bike was only located a little over 100 miles away from where I live, so that gave me the opportunity to go look at it and to ride it. When I saw it, it was just so obvious that the wear or lack of, the bike had been kept inside storage building for all but 569 miles of its life. Thing that sounds silly, but one of the things that in looking at bikes that I could look at, and that's the color or discoloration of the different pieces. The little red button here, if it sits out in the sun, it's going to leave the color red and it's going to be orange. That's just what happens. And this thing was still just a bright red. At some of the things, if you're not used to buying used, certainly you want to see the title on the vehicle, whatever it is. This one was a bit more complex because the owner had passed away. So in that, had to have copies of the legal documentation showing who had the rights to have that ownership, and then the different motor vehicle power of attorneys that were required by the different heirs in that estate. If you've not dealt with these things before, it's time to go talk to someone who has, if you find yourself in that position. Most of the time, so you're going to be dealing straight up with an owner of a vehicle, and that you can check their driver's license for their identity, and you can narrow it down pretty easily, particularly when you're going to their home. If you're meeting some random place, it's time to start to question that. So far, with having had the bike, I've put 800 miles on it. I've been in and out of town. I've had the bike now for about a month and a half, even though I've not been able to ride it consistently during that time. It is a very uncomfortable feeling to me, and going on different forums and YouTubes, I found this to be a common experience, particularly with people that had been two-wheel bike riders, that they found it extremely uncomfortable. The terms that it would wander, or that it would just move on its own, these were definite things. It was something I experienced it early on with it, and still experiencing to a point. And then various people that I would read and watch the videos on, the reoccurring thing was, you have to ride it. You've got to ride it. You've got to ride it. There were people that were talking about, until you may put as many as 2,000 miles on it, that you may not reach a comfort level. So far, my comfort level has improved from where I first went and picked it up to where I really found it to be scary, and I questioned what had I done. I rode it back on, it's a little over 100 miles, rode it back. Fortunately, I was able to find two-lane highway most of the way. I probably didn't get over 45 miles an hour. And it was just, if I had to have ridden it back on the interstate, I just don't know that I could have done it. I think I would have had to have parked it. So, if you're looking at one of these, if you can get an opportunity to ride one a bit before you buy, I would highly suggest that to you. And when you get one, at that point, I'm going to say, if you're like me, you need to be patient with it. The things that I've seen, people have suggested changing the sway bar out on it. They've suggested front end alignment, different tire pressures all over the place on those. The things that I've found that for me have made an improvement: number one, riding. I also highly recommend watching as much YouTube of people riding and their comments as you possibly can. For me, YouTube put out by a YouTuber named Coach Bob, it was extremely helpful. And Coach Bob, my goodness, I don't see me ever reaching his point of comfort on one, but the fact that it could be that way, it was good, and the comments that he made and the suggestions he made, they were really good. The only thing that I've done so far to change the bike, when I first picked it up, it had 28 pounds of air in the front tires and 30 on the back tire. The book calls for, if I remember correctly, 26 on the back tire and 20 on the front tires. So I dropped to those levels. That was major. Then it's still, the bike, in riding it, the thing that it is so difficult to get used to is whenever you feel somewhat threatened or feel like it's wandering on you, the natural instinct is to grab the thing and take control of it. And it sounds crazy, but it's the worst thing to do. What you need to do is lighten up on that grip just a bit. Come down on your speed some, but if you tighten on it, it is going to really feel like you've lost control. So yeah, I'm sure everybody does it, but it's something you have to learn. The shape of the road, if it has tire tracks in it that draws you into on a three-wheeler, it's different than on a two-wheeler. And then I just got it back I put it in the shop and had a front end alignment done on it, a laser alignment, because the bike did pull to the right. At the shop they said it was a minor pull, and after riding it, after it came out of the shop, it probably was minor, but it was something that I was having to constantly keep pressure applied to the right grip, pushing towards the left. Now, the natural slope of the road, you're going to have a little of that, but other than that, it tracks pretty darn straight, and it is much more comfortable, and it's not as prone to grab and kind of pull you in the direction of the road. So these are the things that I've done so far. The things that I'll show you is all about trying to be safe, and it is a different experience from being this age riding and in a younger age riding. You do pay a lot more attention to safety at this age. The money that I've spent now, well, I spent the front end alignment was $119, $133 when they got through with taxes and whatever parts may have been needed. And then I've bought lights to put on it. I've bought sequential turn signals to put in place of the reflectors on the front fenders. I've bought the LED lights for the headlights and the fog lights. I've bought a back tail light that has some brakes, running lights, turn signals that's up higher so that it should be easier to be seen. And then a little gizmo that goes in that wiring line that causes the brake light to give a triple flash whenever you touch the brake to make it more eye-catching for someone coming behind you. These will be things that I'll be working on, and I absolutely have not done this before. My experience will have come from having watched videos, and I'm pretty confident that I can do this. It looks pretty simple, so we'll see how that works. So I hope you enjoy watching the adventure as I go through it here. As we go forward, I'll do some with riding and then putting these parts on. Hopefully it'll be an entertaining group of videos. Hope you enjoy it, and come along with me.